be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mr. DiGiacchino.
Here.
Mrs. Hoppy. Here. Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Santoro.
Here.
Mrs. Tober.
Here.
Ms. Rochu.
Here.
Ms. Birch.
Here.
Mrs. Lees. Here. Okay. Correspondence. Do you have any correspondence? We have no correspondence. Okay. We'll start with the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So tonight we are recognizing several groups and individuals, which is always the best part of the board meeting. So we will start with our middle school, and we have the Megan Magno is the advisor of the Kindness Club. Where's Megan? Oh, I saw her. Megan, come on up. And we're going to let you, come on. And if Mr. Baker can give you his microphone, unless there is the one, is that over there? So, just so that people know, the Kindness Club is a non-stipend club for the past 2 years that Megan dedicated her time and efforts to create. And it's really blossomed. And it's something that not only she, but the middle school as well as the district are very proud of. And then this year, we actually, I'm going to let you do most of the talking, but I want to say that I want to just lay the groundwork so they know what you're talking about. And then it culminated, I guess, what, a month or so ago, one of the members, Tommy Ludwig, who's also here tonight, getting in the paper, and he's actually was contacted by a radio host and for a radio interview, and so it's really taken off. So having said all of that, Megan, I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Wood, our school board, Mrs. Dempsey, Mr. Latsky, all the BMS teachers and staff who have been so supportive, and especially thank you to Tommy for allowing me to be a part of the Kindness Club. It is my honor to be working with this caring group of students and to promote everyday small acts of kindness that make a real difference in our school and community. I am grateful for Tommy for sharing his vision with me. We have had the opportunity to collaborate with so many teachers and community members, and with just simple acts, from holding a door to baking a cookie, writing a caring note, or making a personal donation. Everything that these students do make a difference every day with something as simple as a smile. Thank you so much for recognizing our efforts to be kind to our world. Specifically, we were recognized recently for our Be Kind to Our World efforts that we hosted last year, and they kind of carried us through the summer. And Mayor Suey had recognized those efforts at school, and then a beautiful article was written in the paper. Let's see. Most importantly, we hope that our everyday efforts of kindness will continue to bring extra care, support, and encouragement to our school and community. I'm working with Tommy and the Kindness Club, and we will continue to meet, and this spring we are bringing our efforts together to hopefully have a kindness garden at BMS, so we're very excited about that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Tommy's here tonight.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Tommy.
So Tommy, come on up so you can share your story about how you created the Kindness Club.
Well, this mic is sensitive. Thank you, Dr. Wood and the Board of Education for inviting me here tonight. As you know, my name is Tommy, and I'm an 8th grader and founder of the BMS Kindness Club. If I may, I would like to take a few minutes to tell you about our club and some things we have done in addition to the Be Kind to Our World effort. I always have been drawn to helping others and making people feel good about themselves. And in 5th grade, I started thinking about a way to spread kindness more. It took me a while to get the idea to solidify, but I kept thinking about it. Then, last year, it finally came to me. I had the idea for a kindness club. I got the courage to ask Ms. Mino to help me get the club started. She agreed, and we got approval from Ms. Dempsey, and I came up with 6 main areas of focus to guide the club. 1, encouraging, recognizing random acts of kindness. 2, modeling kindness, respect, and inclusion of all BMS students. 3, acting as kindness ambassadors for all BMS students. 4, offering BMS students as a resource for help and long-term kindness. 5, providing an avenue for advertising and community service options. And finally, participating in kindness to our world efforts. Last year was our first year, so we spent a lot of time in 2016 just spreading the word and getting organized. Then we kicked it up a notch in 2017. In February, club members took leadership roles during Random Acts of Kindness Week. We also co-hosted a Love Rocks activity where students painted little rocks with hearts on them and placed them around BMS to remind people of kindness and caring for others. In March, the founder of the More Than Me Foundation came to talk to BMS about their mission to provide education. to provide education to girls in Liberia, and we were all inspired to help. So we held a big sale and donated the cash to help fund their schools. At the very end of the school year, we had the idea to support restoring pollinator habitats. That was the Be Kind to Our World effort. The sale of about 400 plantable wildflower paper bees raised funds for our club and helped restore bee populations. However, our most exciting achievement last year was growing the club to include participation of over 40 students. At the start of the school year, we were recognized by the international organization Save the Children for our efforts to make the world a better place for youth. And I was invited to be part of a panel of young people who are making a difference around the globe. We spoke to an audience of international leaders and UN delegates to show them that kids can make a difference in today's world. Across marking periods 1 and 2, our club made Halloween-themed kindness notes and hung every one on every student's locker, participating in an art project to create signs of uplifting thoughts to hang in the BMS restrooms. And we collected donations to help an SHSC staff member give his kids a happy Christmas during a time of hardship. In 2018, we've already participated in Random Acts of Kindness Week and the Dance for Heartworks fundraiser, and are working on a partnership with the 28 Days Project. Our plans for spring include selling the final 100 plantable paper bees and create a kindness garden and accompanying mural at BMS using the money we raised last year. Today's world is a tough place for kids, but we can make a difference. Thank you for your time and for honoring my efforts. I hope that the Board of Education will continue to support our mission. And if you remember one thing from me, remember this: one drop of kindness can mean an ocean of hope for someone else.
thank you, Tommy, for thinking of the idea, and also Mrs. Monio for getting behind it and acting as the advisor for it. And now, if you come to the center, it's photo time. That was great. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're good. All right, everybody smile.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Is it good? All right, she's new at this. All right, thanks again, so you'll be in the newsletter. All right.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, thank you. All right, and next we have our VFW winners and our Patriots Pen Essay Contest. So we have staff members also to talk about them. So let's see, I'm going to let the teachers do this, except their names aren't on there. But I know we have, yes, I know your name, Dawn. I've been here 4.5 years, I think I got it. So we have, Dawn, you're going to go first, and Angela, I see you there too, okay.
I'll go second. Yes? Okay. Not here first. All right. Great. Do we have to use this? Okay. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about our Patriot Pen essay. It's a nationwide VFW-sponsored youth essay composition. And this year the theme was America's gift to my generation, right? There you go. We had 2 winners this year, a 6th grade and 7th grader. Our 7th grader's not here. I think it's Grace Connell. And I'm very fortunate to introduce this lovely 6th grader. She and I go way back because I taught her last year for 5th grade literacy, and I was very happy to get her again this year in 6th grade. So this is Sophia Parente, and she's a wonderful essay.
As I look back at my wonderful life, I wonder was America always this amazing? And as I was doing my research, I realized that in America's history, things have been really good, but there were also some things that were not. For example, we have great communities and schools which are amazing, but we have also experienced horrible wars. But the people who were always there to help us were our veterans. Veterans fought and served our country just so we could have a better life. And I thank the veterans for all they have done for America and all its wonders. Because of their sacrifice, they gave American citizens the ability to show increased respect to others, better health, that we can lead healthy lives, and amazing technology. All of this is due to our amazing veterans' sacrifice for us. That is America's gift to my generation. When you think of respect, you might think of holding the door for someone or visiting the sick in hospital. But more importantly, we need to understand how respect is not something America was always good at. For example, ordinary people like Rosa Parks were mistreated by whites who wouldn't allow them to go to white school. And something as simple as drinking from a water fountain was prohibited for only whites. Luckily, these things have improved because of new laws passed that help show respect to others. People learned that it was important to respect everyone, no matter who they were or where they came from. Respecting others is America's gift to my generation. Health was also an important factor that America got better at over the years. For example, years ago, citizens would die at a very young age. This was depressing because everyone wants to be healthy. It wasn't that people were dying from war, but they were also dying from health problems, and that was even more dangerous. People were getting sick and the diseases were spreading. The risk of people dying at a very early age was scary. So people like Wilhelm Conrad Roentgen, a German physicist, knew there had to be a cure for this to help these people. So the study was on to stop the spread of illness, and it was successful. Wilhelm went to school to study physics, and through hard work, he discovered the X-ray. Eventually, he even won a Nobel Prize in physics. People like Wilhelm Conrad Roentgen helped the study of health to make the world a better and healthier place. Advantages in technology was another key factor of how America grew to a fantastic place. For centuries, people had no way to communicate, besides letters, which takes a very long time to get from one person from another. But almost 150 years ago, a young man who was born in Scotland but moved to America realized that there was a problem with this kind of communication, and he wanted to make a change. This man, Alexander Graham Bell, invented the telephone, which helped people communicate like never before. Since then, technology has advanced up to the point where most of us had phones that could take pictures and videos. We can even watch movies on it if we want. This amazing technology was another incredible gift America gave to my generation. America has contributed to my life, and it made it a more safe and better place to be. And without the help of veterans, I wouldn't have the freedom that I do now have today. I thank the veterans so much for the opportunity that I have today, and I am so blessed to be here, living the life I live. Now you know America's gift to my generation. They are respect, health, and technology. Thank you, veterans.
We'll get a shot of the whole group. Okay. So did you say that Grace isn't here?
She's not here tonight.
Okay, so that means Patty Jones.
That is true as well.
Trying to fit on script here. All right, so Angela Zerza, representing our high school.
Representing Bernard's High School. It is a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank Dr. Wood. As a community member, you created this wonderful tradition of recognizing the young people in this community, in this wonderful district of which we are all a part of. And I think it has been wonderful. I hope it is a tradition that is part of your legacy. I hope it will continue. And thank you also for board members for your support.
I'm sure it will, right, Mrs. Dempsey?
So I'd first like to start with a very brief background about this Voice of Democracy. Since 1947, the Voice of Democracy has been the VFW's premier scholarship program. Each year, almost 40,000 high school students compete for more than $2 million in scholarships and incentives. Students compete by writing and recording an audio essay on an annual patriotic theme. This year's theme was American History, Our Hope for the Future. This is the third consecutive year I have used this contest as an assignment in my public speaking semester elective course. And I considered it an ideal way for students to appreciate the value of public speaking as a vital means of civic engagement, a true experience for them, the power of rhetoric and the importance of effective oral communication skills. It was an inspirational assignment. Students reflected on American history, they made personal, meaningful connections, and shared their hope for a bright future. I was delighted to have 6 students go above and beyond the assignment's requirements and submit their original essay in the competition. And you'll be happy to know that we had 3 winners from Bernard's High School. The students were awarded monetary prizes by our local VFW, The gentleman came to our classroom just a few weeks ago and presented the prizes to our winners in front of the public speaking students, and it turned out to be really a very special community event for all of the students involved. I am proud of these students for many reasons. They have served as ambassadors of our district. They have honored our veterans, and most of all, they have honored this great country. It is with great pride that I introduce to you the winners of the Outstanding Spokesperson for Freedom Award. And I'm going to call these folks. I see two of the recipients. Grace Hammerschlag, she's a sophomore. She unfortunately seems to be, is not in attendance.
She had, she emailed me.
Oh.
She had a competition.
She has an ice skating
Yeah.
competition. Yeah. Andrew Lippman is our senior, and Lauren Bogdan. And I have to make an additional note about Lauren. It was the first time that we received a district level winner, and Lauren is the recipient of that high distinguished honor. She and her family, you'll be happy to know, attended an awards dinner down south in Trenton, and she introduced herself among hundreds of students across the state of New Jersey. So that was a little extra special, but it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Andrew and Lauren.
I'll just give the summary of my speech. In the future, I hope that people will open their eyes and understand that we have this amazing country because of the brave veterans that gave it to us. With their love inside them, they gave us freedom. My hope for the future of America is that every morning, everyone will stand up proud as they restate the powerful words of the Pledge of Allegiance, because we are pledging to the selfless, courageous soldiers of this nation. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for allowing me to be here, and thank you to Ms. Surza for helping me along this process. And it's been a huge honor to receive not only the winner of our school as a freshman, but the district. So it's been great.
Don't go anywhere though, because we're gonna get pictures after. Oh, you don't want to hear something?
Do you want to say something?
We'll just celebrate it instead.
Yes.
Put those impromptu public speaking skills to use. This is the time.
I'd like to thank everyone just for the honor to be allowed to come up here and talk. I didn't really think I'd win. I kind of just submitted it to help with public speaking, which I'm using right now. So,
You did a great job.
I guess it helped somewhere, and I'm just glad that I had the opportunities to be here. And I'd like to thank everyone here for coming.
And thank you. Come on, Mrs. Surgeon. Nice try. Yeah. Everybody's shy.
It's a sign out.
Come on.
You might have to just get a little bit there. Thank you. Good, nice. Ready? 1, 2, 3. A couple. Good. Got it? All right.
Congratulations, everybody.
Really great.
Okay, and I believe we have one more. So we have Coach Balzerano, and girls field hockey team. Before we start, I just want to let everybody know that we are celebrating them a little bit later because we had a lot of things going on in the fall, and we wanted to make sure that we could celebrate you properly. But they were the county champions. White.
Those were some really tough acts to follow, so, I mean, all we did was win a trophy. But first, thank you to our continued support from our Board of Education, our high school administration, especially Mr. Hoppy, who supports just about anything I ask, any crazy idea that I ask him for. Our trainer, Matt, my Bedwell administration, who, as you know, has to let me out early on certain days for games, which is so, so important to my girls. To my coaching staff, and of course, most importantly, to our players. Many coaches will get up here and brag about their team's accomplishments, especially under the circumstances of a county title and division title that bring us here tonight, but many coaches, and I have done the same, and they talk about trophies. Yes, our girls won the first county title since 1989, which is the first in over a quarter century. And yes, our girls this year won the program's 10th division title in 14 years, which just seems like a no-brainer anymore. This year had a record number of players named to an all-division, county, and state and area teams. While those are all very impressive accomplishments, they don't truly show what a team is made of. The ins and outs of the everyday, the relationships formed, and the adversity they face. The love, the camaraderie that a team might have for each other, and the respect that a team has for the traditions of our program. When I retire, which I don't know if it'll be sooner or later, this year's field hockey team was one that will definitely stand out in my mind as one of my favorites. This team is not only has an intrinsic drive that each and every player possesses, but a communal intrinsic drive, which is almost impossible to coach. These girls had an unspoken common goal, to win, and to win together, and they did that 19 times this season. They didn't let the paper's prediction of a 4-2 loss against Bridgewater in our county finals stop them from working their tails off in our county championship. They used it as fuel. They came together. This past season is a hard one to live up to. I often tell the girls that playing field hockey at BHS is more than just a sport. It's a life lesson, and they're tired of me saying that to them, I'm sure. But as an alumni of this team, I can say that this season is going to produce some of the strongest, fastest, tough as nails, compassionate, hard-working, team-oriented women that we have ever seen. From the teamwork of coaching, the coaching staff, who's invaluable to me, as well as the teamwork and respect of our players, this season was truly one for our folks. So thank you, ladies, for coming tonight.
And you have some players here.
Yes, we have many players. We had, like I said, we had more players than ever named to all division, county, area, and state teams, but there's one that's being recognized especially tonight. It's Abby Cawley. Come on up. Abby was only the second.
Over here, Abby.
Abby was only the second player in my 14 years of coaching to be named an All-Area Player of the Year. This is done through the Courier News. This huge honor is only reserved for players who are truly deserving. This honor is chosen when reporters ask all area coaches, which is Somerset and Hunterdon counties, to comment on opposing team players. So I get asked about Bridgewater, I get asked about Hunterdon Central, I get asked about all the big teams in the area. Then, the reporting staff scour the records and game stats to choose only the most deserving. Now, Abby's a defender, so she doesn't have a lot of stats as offensive players do, which makes it much more difficult to be nominated. We play in a difficult area. Somerset and Hunterdon counties are arguably in the top 10 most competitive areas in the country, including North Jersey, where Abby was also nominated to the All-North Jersey team. Abby not only had her skill to drive this deserving honor, but what really won her this honor was her approach to sport. She's a leader on this team for many, many reasons. Her drive, her competitive nature, and her quiet approach. Enjoy this, girl. Don't be embarrassed. She leads by example of what it means to be a leader, a teammate, and a fighter. The staff would often watch from the sideline knowing that if Abby let a player by her or made a mistake, it would only happen once in a game because she truly, in the moment, learned from her mistakes. The trust she has in her teammates and the trust they have in her is something that I truly hope is passed down as a tradition in our program. That's not something that is easily coached at all. Abby, you've raised the bar for what it means to be an amazing member of our awesome tradition. I'm so proud of you. We are all so proud of you. And we are so thankful that you still have another year. Congratulations.
And we're going to get pictures of you of some other players. And
We do. Come on up, please.
You've got stuff on the end. That's fine, right?
This is when it's good to
Just saying.
Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. Good, good. Did you get a couple?
So that concludes our recognitions. So we want to take a pause and let everybody that, yeah, I didn't forget Jack, I was after that. So everybody can go out in the rain, unfortunately. But thank you very much for coming. Part of what makes the recognitions great is that we're in a place where people actually come to be celebrated, and we have so much to celebrate. So thank you very much. Gretchen, you can't leave. Listen, I'm still in charge, you know. Yes, she is. Let there be no doubt. Oh, man, I came back. Yeah, nice move. Good move. That was a good move. Good career move. So, all right. So we're going to move on now with Jack Broderick, our student report. Jack, you finally had a tough time to follow.
Exactly. Hi everyone. Happy Wednesday. All right, let's kick it off. Congratulations to the Jazz Ensemble of Bernard's High for their performance at the Steel Stacks Jazz Festival this past Sunday. Actually, I don't think that's from this past Sunday, so just kidding. But overall, it was recently. It was within the past month. Overall, the band received a superior rating. Best Rhythm Section, Best Saxophone Section, and Best Soloist Awards for Mira Petla and Jack Senna. So congratulations to them. This past month, the senior fashion show took place in the cafeteria of Bernard's High. I was unfortunately unable to attend, but I heard from a lot of people that they had a lot of fun, and it was a great success. Also, Night of the Stars at the Old Milling was also held, where seniors were able to dress up as a popular celebrity or character. I was also unable to attend that, but everyone had a really fun time, and it looked like everyone had some good characters. Okay, the Key Club Teacher Dare fundraiser was a big hit recently, with 22 teachers participating to raise money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Students donated to vote for their favorite teacher Dare, and Dr. Nigel won and was duct taped to the wall during the lunch periods. Yeah, the fundraiser raised $225. It was a great success. Thank you to everyone who donated, and thank you to Dr. Nigel for being such a good sport about that. Our literary magazine, The Pinnacle, received a first place with Special Merit Award from the American Scholastic Press Association for their 2017 publication. Congratulations to Mr. Pear and to the students who worked on the magazine. You guys already congratulated the Voices of Democracy, but let me just echo that. They did a great job, and thank you to the veterans and Ms. Serza for supporting them. The spring musical, The Music Man, is coming along nicely. Everyone's working super hard. I was there today, and we ran Act 1, and it's shaping up to be a great show, and that will be on March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And finally, the Harvard Model Congress is leaving tomorrow for a weekend in Boston, and everyone I spoke to is really excited for a great weekend. As always, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those at this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I just call up my remarks on. Before we go on, I just wanted to make a brief statement or go over some things which most of you have. In light of what happened in Parkland, Florida, the district, along with Bedminster, sent out a joint letter addressing not so much concerns, but talking about the things that we do here in Somerset Hills in terms of our security. And I thought that although the letter went out through the Friday folder and it is posted on our website, I thought that it was also important for me to just highlight some things tonight at the board meeting. So if you could just bear with me, I'm going to be reading a little bit from my phone because I don't want to miss any of the key points. So in light of everything, I just want to I think that's just the feedback from him. I think it's important to go over a couple of things, and again, I think most people are aware of this, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate the things that we do and that you can do as parents, and that together as a community, along with yourselves and as well as the police, we can all do together to help protect our children. So we do have a close relationship with our local police and our fire department, and each year the police come in and they do reassess along with us where we are in terms of our security protocols and what we could do better and how we could address that and how we could tighten things up. So that's a yearly process that does go on. We also regularly practice state-mandated drills, and those drills are the drills that you sometimes hear about, unfortunately, after a tragedy has occurred, but those are the drills that actually save lives. It's because the teachers and the students are aware and that they practice them with regularity that there are as many survivors of these horrific acts as there are. So the drills that we engage in include the lockdowns, the active shooter drill, the shelter in place, and the evacuation. There are a few more, but they're the big ones. And I also want to point out that the police participate in those drills with us, which I think is really important because in a lot of districts that doesn't happen. The school district practices them, but the police are not on the campus. So that just enhances what we're doing here along with our local police and law enforcement. We also remain proactive in terms of ensuring that the entrances and the outside doors are secured and locked, that visitor badges are worn, and you should know that when you come to the buildings that you're not immediately let in, that you have to be buzzed in and that you are given a visitor's badge, regardless if you're a parent or where you're going, you have to say that. Regardless of the people, if the people at the front desk know you or they don't, those are protocols that are followed. In addition to all that, we do have video cameras that we do review for unusual activity and suspicious activity, and we have budgeted for more of those cameras. And we did that, we put that in the budget prior to any of this happening down in Florida. And also, moving forward, we're earmarking it as a capital budgeted item, which means that every year we'll be adding and enhancing those cameras because we feel that that type of security is important. We also, since Parkland, we've held several meetings with our local police and the joint emergency response team that includes members of our staff along with our local police will be meeting next week to talk about next steps in terms of enhanced security here. So even though we do it every year, because of what just happened, we think that it would behoove us to meet and talk about some things. So just to make sure, because we can never be too safe and we can never be too sure. So we'll be meeting next week. In addition to the increased patrols that you may be seeing on all the campuses by the police, the Bernardsville Police Chief has reached out to Bedminster, Peapack, Far Hills, and asked them to assist also with patrols through the schools. And the point of that is not a knee-jerk reaction, but unfortunately in our society, schools are soft targets. But what we want to do is we want to say and set the stage for the fact that that's not us, because our towns and our police regularly ride through here. So it's not a good idea for anyone with those kinds of ideas to come through here and attempt that, because we do have the police coming through. So that's one of the things that we would like to enhance, although our local police do the walkthroughs several times a week in our schools, and they do drive through the campus. We also, like I said, I reached out to the chief, and he reached out to the other chiefs to try to get some more patrols in the other areas, because what is more important than our children in our schools during the day? So hopefully you should see that going on. And also next week, we are having a meeting for all of Somerset County and the police chiefs and the superintendents to get together and talk about some things, because when so many of us are in a group, we can share ideas and brainstorm and come up with even more, hopefully with more security measures. And lastly, we look to the parents to be proactive, because we want you to talk to your children. We want you to know their friends. We want you, even though it's very difficult and we know your children probably don't want you to be part of this part of their lives, we need you to be. And that's the social media piece, because that is so incredibly important. We want you to ask your children what they're doing on social media. If any post that they see on social media is alarming, is causing them to be uncomfortable, we want them to tell you, and we want you to tell us, and then we can take it to law enforcement. So we need you to do that, because we can't, and that's very important. And like I said, we know that your children probably don't want you to do that, and it may cause some friction in your home, but we need you to do that. We also feel that you should report things that you see on social media as parents that make you feel uncomfortable, or that you think are alarming, or that we should be made aware of. It's so much easier to say, oh, I feel foolish when something turned out to be nothing, than to have regret because it was something. So it's all of us working together to keep our children safe. And that may sound cliche-ish, but it's not. It takes all of us to do that. So, the social media part of what I just talked about is just so incredibly important, because the more you read about this, not only in Parkland, but with all of these incidents, it's the social media posts that are out there that have been the triggers, that have been the warning signs, that people either didn't see or didn't report, or perhaps reported and it didn't go anywhere. But we need you to trust us that when you do tell us, we won't let it go. So we just think that that's extremely important, and we want you to know that we don't think we're perfect, and we don't think we have all the answers, but we want to continue to grow in the area of security and protect everybody that comes to our schools, because we want kids to want to come here and want to be happy here and want to learn here and want to think that this is a great place and that we are protecting them. So that's the message, that's what we're trying to do, and any way that you feel you can help us with that, we're certainly open to. So, and that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Public questions and comments. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public questions and comments will be limited to 30 minutes. Thank you for your input. Do we have any public comments or questions? I can.
Just a quick
Oh,
question.
wait.
Is your report part of the agenda, or if you have questions regarding what you were talking about, part of the second question?
Yeah, you can.
That's an agenda item?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Good evening.
You look like you're having so much fun on that.
My name is Lou Palmer from Gladstone, and I appreciate the comments that you made. And as you could probably imagine, the day that happened, the day after it happened, our next door PPAC website, bubble, whatever it is, exploded with how safe are the schools and what can be done. I know that safety and security is the utmost first priority of the school district, and all those things that you said are, I totally agree with what's going on in the district. Appreciate the letter that you and the Bedminster superintendent put out, the mayor and police chief's letter that came out that helped to bring in some of the comments and everything that were going on the website. My suggestion is, and I read the school board, went on to school boards and saw their comments on that, and it says it seemed like all we're doing is what can we do to protect the students? Every time there's something, we look at safety, security, but we're not addressing the real problem, which is gun control or gun reform and mental health issues. And I think that as a school board and as the New Jersey school boards, there should be some resolution. We have 600 districts in the state. If all the school boards got together and said, we want to put a resolution together, we've done this for other legislation that was going on in the state, have some resolution that all the school boards would be willing to sign and adopt and send to the state legislatures that we need something done. And if somebody that's running for office is not going to be supportive of this, then they will not, that will get our word out to our parents, grandparents that have kids in the district and schools and things like that. So I would like to see New Jersey school, my suggestion or question is, can New Jersey school boards put something more out as a policy statement or some kind of a statement that we think that more needs to be done? Not, I know we need to do cameras and all those things, that has to be done. But there has to be something that we have to get our legislature to know that there has to be some reasonable discussions on gun control and also mental health issues. So I think that's my suggestion to the school board, if they could follow up with New Jersey school boards and see if there's any kind of an action plan to do that. Because if those students from Parkland can go to their legislature 7 days after this happened, sit down with the president today, I think the New Jersey school boards, with all the parents and grandparents that have schools in the public schools and private schools, I think they'd have a bit better chance of getting their voices heard also. So thank you for your listening to me. And nice to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Sorry, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Salma Habibi, Gladstone, New Jersey. So I'm kind of just all jotting notes down, but I'll be very quick. So in light of recent events, we are really blessed that we are in a safe area, and Somerset School District has not been affected by anything negative like that. Dr. Woods, I appreciate your comments and the information that you presented at the beginning of the meeting. There's nothing more important than the safety of our kids. And I agree that we need to be aware as parents and as kids as to what is going on out there. Unfortunately, you're speaking to what? Again, like 5 people, so that's the sad part of this whole thing is that the whole community is not here. I was really expecting that there would be a full house here tonight, but, I
Well, at
guess.
least it's on YouTube though,
Yes, it is. Well, yeah, but.
which is
yeah.
what I wanted to get
Yes,
out.
yes, and I get that, and I will blow it out there, but, who knows? Gun reform, unfortunately, is not something that is in our hands. We can do something politically on our own, but I think in regards to mental health, we can do more, and we can offer more resources to the schools. I really think that just in light of all the issues going on. I mean, just in town, I hear about what these kids are doing on the buses, what they're doing at school, who's got a hit, who's doing that. I mean, nothing, I don't know names or anything like that, but so-and-so's up to this. We need a full-time SAC at the middle school. There's just too many issues going on. And a SAC is really someone who deals with preventative issues. They will sit down and deal with these kids and talk to them and have a one-on-one with them, or even sit down and discuss issues with them. Kids who are at risk, set up peer groups, offer resources to parents, and also the importance of having a full-time psychologist at the middle school. Someone who deals with mental health issues. I mean, it's all about. It's all of these kids who, they had triggers in their family with this last kid, and who knows what his other history was, and then he gets access to guns and comes into the school and does that. So we really need to be proactive in something that we can manage. You know what, facilities, great, but you know what, we don't have to have the best in facilities and everything. So maybe it's time to put money that might have been allocated to facilities and think about some more important issues as to how to deal with these kids. Because I personally think that not a lot of parents are involved. Not a lot of parents are dealing with these issues. Unfortunately, that's the sad part, and it comes down to you guys. You guys are dealing with all the brunt of everything. And that's because, as much as you try to do all these great events, bring all these professionals in, it's the same, 20, 30, 40 people. It's never going to be the whole community coming together. And as part of the BMS HSA for, this year or next year, we're trying to think of things outside of the box. How do you engage more people in the community? But that's another issue, so that's where I come from. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we approve the minutes from last week? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, we are just going to skip a little bit around on the agenda.
Well, hold on,
No,
we're going
we
to
gotta
do roll
vote.
call.
Oh, roll
Does
call.
anybody have any comments about the minutes, any changes, any?
No, not
Yeah,
yet. Anybody?
that's the question. Okay, and then I'll do roll call then.
Okay.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Giacchino? I almost got that.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to skip to the personnel meeting. The personnel report first for tonight. We met on February 13th and we discussed personnel. On that, I would like to move items and then mention something after that. So I would like to move items 1 through 13. That is 13. I know. Can I have a second?
Second.
Janice, okay, thank you for that. I just want to give a report on our superintendent search. Haystack meet needle. As you know, the Board of Education went through a lot of planning leading up to this very moment. We discussed strategies, poured over stacks of qualified resumes, and had extensive discussions with very smart people for this crucial role. Our search covered a lot of geography, yet ironically, We found who we wanted right here at home. Your experience, your intellect, your track record of success, and I'm speaking about Gretchen Dempsey in case anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Your deep ties to the community and the respect you have gathered from both your academic peers and your students over the years made our choice crystal clear. This is not a decision we took lightly, specifically because this was not a decision about us. This was a decision for the children. A decision to help our children learn, to teach them to help one another, to understand tolerance, to keep them safe, and to encourage them to dream. All of us are thrilled to have you lead us forward, and we wish you good luck, Gretchen.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I can't tell you all how thrilled I am. And even if I seemed like I was moving out, I'm very much, all in. So thank you.
It's all contract pending.
Yes.
Yeah. Just putting that out there.
We think that it's not going to be a problem.
We're really excited.
So you can shuffle out now.
Yeah.
But we didn't want you to miss your own. I appreciate that.
Sorry to bring an umbrella.
You were looking out for me. I was worried I was going to forget it. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so now.
No, they don't have our contracts in now.
Yeah, we do.
Personnel.
These are discussion items then, and then I have,
No, you just had.
You're right.
you made the motion, yeah.
Well, there's, I don't know, does anyone have a discussion?
Yeah, Monica's a comment.
I had a comment, but I was going to ask it, but I will now.
Okay.
The extended sub, we approved, I thought, a different rate. It just depends on whatever the position is, and that's number 9. Is that just, it just depends on the extended sub rate, depends
Yeah, there's
on
a chart, so it
Okay.
depends on how long you're in for.
how long you're there for? Okay.
Yeah, because because what happens is the longer you're there, the expectations are greater. Like lesson plans, that kind of thing, you wouldn't ask a regular sub to do. So, conferences, that kind of thing.
So this is a replacement for the guidance counselor, I just thought it maybe,
Yeah. So that's
it was that high because, okay. And the other one, I know this is 12, that is just because, and I think you guys have said that before.
the students who haven't passed the state assessments necessarily graduate, so it's the state required. So we have to assign a teacher. We can't assign them, we have to post, we have to put them in remediation, so we have to post for those classes. And obviously, it behooves us to be able to appoint teachers at the lower end of the salary guide, but we can't appoint them. They have to but they have to be willing to accept that, and it also has to fit into the schedule. So that's, you can see one is at the upper end and one is not so much.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Okay, so just, okay.
Anybody else?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DiPupino? Yes. Mrs. Hockey?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tover?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes. Okay, Bob, your report on finance?
Finance. The Finance Committee met on February the 6th and the 20th, which was yesterday. Obviously, everybody knows we're working on the budget. Just go over a few highlights of the budget. We looked at enrollment numbers. We're getting better numbers now. It's looking almost flat, which is surprising based on what you read in the paper and about in Berners Township, but our enrollment is pushing upward in places that we didn't realize. In kindergarten, it's still whoever enrolls in kindergarten for the fall is still the big unknown, and we deal with that every year. The other issue that we talked about boys ice hockey and girls volleyball. And the Finance Committee is recommending that on boys hockey that we no longer are the lead on that, but we would donate, not donate, we would pay $1,000 per player going into the coming year. And today we asked Somerville if they would take the lead, and they do not want to. So the hockey program is up in the air at the moment, I would say. Girls volleyball, we got a cost on that of almost $28,000 for a team with what it would cost, but we only have about 12 to 15 girls, so it's really too expensive, and the finance committee is recommending that if they wanted to do that, and parents could support, sort of like ice hockey, because the parents in ice hockey have to put a lot of money in the pot, we would do the same on girls volleyball. So that's the recommendation at the moment from the finance committee. Wait, we're talking about this. We looked at strategic plan costs. We're getting numbers on what every part of the strategic plan would cost for the next 3 or 4 years. We have a few hard numbers, but we want some more numbers coming in on that, so we're working on that. We also looked at healthcare costs. We had a presentation by our broker on healthcare, and we changed carriers last July, and we're waiting for a quote. He's hoping the quote's going to come in between 10 and 15% rate increase, so cross our fingers. That's a big part of the budget because it's over $4 million. So you can do the math, 10% is 400, 15 is more. So that will impact the budget a lot. That's probably the one, other than salaries, that's our biggest spend. So that should be in our hands before the next board meeting when we have to present is the budget to the public, the first draft at our next meeting on March 14th. So we should have that early March. So right now, the budget is balancing somewhat, but we still want to cut some costs out. We have a lot of projects that have to be done, around the campuses, and we also want to spend money on the strategic plan. So looking for efficiencies to get the expected costs down in certain places, so we'll have some extra cash to spend on those things. And the only other issue that we talked about and we're voting on tonight is we have a payroll company we're going to use between now and April to fill in the gaps. It's a third-party payroll company, and they're going to help us get up going with our new employee who starts in March. So that's my report. So I'd like to move items 1 through 13, and I would like to point out and thank Chef for item number 10, which is they're giving us $20,000. Do I have a second on the motion? Second. Okay, I'll take questions.
I have questions.
Sure.
Okay, now, you first made a comment about the enrollment number being steady, and you made a comment about so you say that although New Jersey as a whole is showing a decrease in numbers, we're not having that?
No, it depends on each school district.
Okay.
We first thought our demographics, we thought would be down 35 to 40, but it's not coming out that way. So we're down -5 right now, but that's, again, it's a guess. That's the administration's best guess. Big number is all the kids who enrolled in kindergarten. And then you never know about kids who leave private school, and I've noticed around town, there's houses going up for sale everywhere, so you don't know what the changeover is. So, we have to go with the administration's best guess. So right now, we see students in these schools holding steady across the board. Some classes are dropping, some are going up.
So high school's numbers are staying the same, looks like?
I can tell
It was
you.
at 856, wasn't it?
If you want, if you hang on a second, I can give you high school's -2.
-2?
Which is insignificant.
Okay, second, and I had 3 questions, sorry. Second one, you said girls volleyball. Now, I remember we had discussed that in curriculum, and we brought Hoppy, the athletic director, in because there was some question we had brought up about it and about the numbers, and he had I didn't know we were going forward with that. Is that something?
We're not.
Oh, so you guys are just looking at the numbers? I don't
We got
understand what the
estimates
issue
on
is.
cost, but we don't have enough students to support it. And generally, when you bring in a new sport, you get parents involved in it to support it.
Oh, okay.
And right now, with 12 to 15 girls at $29,000, it's way more than $1,000 a kid. That's sort of where we look at sports generally. You know.
Because I thought they was talking about doing it at club level, but maybe I was just confused.
You could do it at a club level, but it's not a varsity sport.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought it was not going to be. I thought the discussion ended where it was going to be looking at as a club, not as varsity whatsoever. So that's why I was just a tad bit confused about that. And next thing is the healthcare cost for July. We had that change you mentioned. Now, did that go into this budget 17-18 or did that go into 16-17? The change in that cost. I'm confused with the budget. So
No, I said our current healthcare carrier is Aetna. And
yes.
They started on July, and we've only got, we're going to get this quote based on 6 months of loss experience. Our loss experience is pretty good. It's got a couple spikes in it, but they need a good 6 months, which they're going to have now at the end of December. And they're going to give us a quote based on our loss experience for the coming year.
Okay, for 18, 19. And so the change we just had was a 17-18 change, and it went to 17-18 budget.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I needed. That's it. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, but I just wanted to comment on the chef. I understand that was like, with that donation, they went over $1 million in cumulative contributions to the school district.
I think so, yeah. It's a shame nobody's from, I was hoping somebody from Chef would be here tonight to help,
Big check.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly, get the big golf tournament-sized check. I mean, it's amazing because, it's such an important organization. It's been so, important over the years, and $1 million is, non-trivial, and I think they're kind of ramping things up. And it's going forward, I think they can be very, very helpful with the various sort of strategic initiatives. Obviously, we've got budget constraints, as we all know, but, I think they can be really helpful in helping to bridge some of that gap.
They've been averaging $40,000 and $50,000 a year to the school, and, as an advertisement, they've got the chili cook-off coming up at the end of March, so I hope you all can go. It's a great event. That's their big fundraiser. They don't do it every year, but they do it. It's going to be in Gladstone, so that's a good event. And, I think, they helped us with Teachers College. They got us going on that. So that's always, they're good to get these things off the ground. So in the strategic plan, we've got a lot of those things we're going to try new, and they can help. So that'd be great. Anybody else? Okay.
Great, thank you. Ready for roll call? Ready.
All right. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DiGiacchino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tover?
Yes, but abstain from number 5.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes. Okay, we have next here. Curriculum. Janice, please
Okay.
give us your report.
So the curriculum meeting, the curriculum met, excuse me, let's start again. The curriculum committee met on February 13th, and we began by
Are you
reviewing.
talking into your microphone?
No, we're sharing microphones today.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, at the February 13th Curriculum Committee meeting, we began by reviewing the pre-approved district field trips and the 2018-19 district calendar. After that, Gretchen Dempsey and Mike Catelli presented us with a proposal which would create a BMS Language and Culture course. This course has been created to meet the needs of all BMS students. It is designed to provide an instructional option for special education students, students with a 504 or IRNS plans for whom the current course sequence is too difficult. The non-sequential project-based units, which allow students to join at any grade, will include art, music, sports, food, holidays, and history, while introducing Spanish language skills. The course will be designed to run over 3 years, similar to how languages at BMS currently run. After that, we talked about the visitation to Vernon School District. Jen Schoffler and Colleen visited, and they wanted to examine their CTE, which is the Career and Technical Education Program. While there is a difference in the demographics between our districts, we did find areas where we could rebrand, build upon, or adopt some programs into our district. For example, it was proposed to move forward, that we would move forward with a similar engineering sequence at Bernards High School based upon Project Lead the Way program with Rowan University. More discussions were about new things we are going to explore. For example, some of the things would be graphic design, VOTech, anatomy, physiology, multimedia, woodworking, Pfizer visit, 7-week coding courses for girls, and RVCC school visits and internships. These are going to be ongoing. We're going to be discussing them. Then the committee also reviewed and supported the health and wellness activities in our strategic plan. So I'd like to move items 1 and 3 on the agenda and include on them the names of the people on the addendum also.
I'll second.
Discussion? Questions?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DiGiucchino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes. Okay, facilities?
Facilities and operations met this evening at 5:30. Began with a review of our capital projects, the consensus moving forward in the immediate future for many different reasons. Some of these projects come in under the threshold for bidding, and we should be able to get some of these started sooner rather than later, as opposed to waiting for engineering to come in and putting things out to bid. They include the student access, which from the high school down to the Bernardsville Center, which we're all very excited about. The sidewalk behind Bedwell School, the staff parking lot between Bedwell and the middle school, the recess area design project, and then the area going into the track, not the whole parking area, but that area once you get in through that fence. So we'll be working on, focusing on these 5 specific projects in the very immediate future. In terms of capital, the other issue we discussed was the Stop It app. Release, our board attorney was there to give us a report, as well as Franny. There was much discussion. We are continuing to look into this. There are administration, when discussed with the administration, there were some liability and labor relations issues that we have to kind of sort through. We'll be reaching out to Kenilworth. Kenilworth is I believe has the app and is doing the program as we speak. But having one school district using this, Somerset County, I believe, according to what Tim was sharing with me tonight, is doing that. So I'm going to look into, reach out to them and try to gather as much information as I can so we can move forward and try to come up with some resolution with this and It does address a lot of the safety issues and concerns that we have, that, that policy and the things that we do aren't necessarily, don't necessarily address or can address. So, there is some good with this that I think we can, again, look into it, and we'll continue to try to sort this all out. And that's pretty much where we are this evening. We'd like to move action items in facilities numbers 1 and 2.
Give a second. Discussion?
Questions, discussions?
I have a question that I asked last time about having access to the OCOP building as far as anyone with special needs. They can't walk up those stairs, and there's that ADA law that says because of it's a public building that everyone should be able to have access to it. So I didn't know if you were exploring ramps or something. I mean, I get it's a historic building, but you still have to, by law, have access to that building.
We did discuss with Bill, and we discussed that with them when we were with them last. We gave a preliminary look outside when we were outside looking at the student access and at the angled parking, how we were going to do that. So right now, we didn't discuss it tonight at F&O because of the nature of the capital projects. We want to prioritize them. That was time sensitive. It's not their number one priority, but they know what we're talking about. We talked through some things, looking at the building, coming in from downstairs. We talked about the elevator maybe to the first floor kind of thing, but we are relying on them and waiting to hear back from them.
Okay. Just as a NIMBYism, I think it is a priority.
Okay.
Because, Julie, I don't know, can you help?
Sure.
Sorry. And I should know, from Bridgeland, I should know this.
Well, obviously, when you're doing new construction, things like that, you have to make it accessible, but there's some grandfathering for historic buildings. Unless you're going to do major projects, you don't have to. But if you had an accessibility issue for a meeting or something, you might have to move the meeting somewhere else where it is accessible.
Didn't you throw out some number for that sort of statement?
Well, they
I
talked
can't-
about an
sorry,
elevator
I
from
can't
the
hear.
back.
Can you speak up?
Can't hear.
Is it a historic issue?
Well, it's not the historic designation, it just means older buildings. You don't necessarily have to.
But even in a public school situation? Really? Well, that'll be fun when a parent sues.
Well, you just move the meetings to the accessible
Well, what if
location.
somebody wants to go meet with someone in the building and they can't get in?
Person has
They
to
would
come
have
to
to
that.
We did look into it, and
They're going to do cost, but the cost is going to be just shy of $1 million. So just so you know, that's somewhere, I'm guessing 800,000, because you have to put it in a hydraulic elevator. And
From the back.
it's in the back where the fire escape is, probably demolish the fire escape, put a tower up the back, stairs inside, hydraulic elevator. That's what we're looking at.
And that's not really even matching the nature of the building.
Yeah, you would have to put some sort of stone face, synthetic stone. I mean, it's doable. They're going to price it out, but they told us it's a lot of money.
But it was discussed.
Yeah, what's discussed, and that's the only way to do it. You can't come in the front door, because you can't build a ramp. You'd have to demolish the whole front of the building to do it. So we're going to look at it, so we see the cost, but I don't know if it's up in that ballpark. That's a lot of money. Now, one thing we should add about handicap, we are doing, if we do the access to the Bernardsville Center, we're going to you're going to be able to drive down to where the girls' softball field is, if you're handicapped, and you can go to all the baseball games on the lower field, because that's lacking, and the architects pointed that out to us, so we're going to include that in the cost of that project. So there are grandparents and parents who come to softball games, hardball games, who are in wheelchairs. So we're going to have 2 parking spots at the bottom down there, and we'll blend that in with the whole project. So.
And that access will be handicap accessible as well. There's going to be steps immediately down to the sidewalk area, but there's also, as the driveway slopes down, come around the wall to a walkway area, so anyone in a wheelchair will be able to access Burnsville Center as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry, the Burnsville Center?
The shopping center.
Where the kids
Oh,
go for lunch.
shopping center. I'm like, what is a shopping center?
I think we were building something.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, what's going on? Oh, you mean a shopping center? Okay. Okay.
You know, because they have to hop the fence.
Yes, yes,
They
yes.
can hop
And they
fence.
have-
And they have been, yeah.
If it were an Olympic sport, we'd be looking at some more gold medals.
So, so Greg, what might happen is that we have to say that you can't have meetings, certain size meetings over there. Is that what's might end up
Over,
at the Alcott building? We're gonna have to put some policy in place about where you can have meetings because of the handicap situation. Is that what might have to happen? I don't know, I'm just wondering.
I think that would be done on a case-by-case basis.
That's just an individual accommodation.
Which we do now.
Yeah, it's no different than what we've been doing. Well, we have looked into it, and it wasn't on the agenda tonight because the agenda was full with the capital projects we were looking into.
Okay. Any other comments?
All right. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DeGiacchino? Mrs. Hoppy?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes. Policy. Janice?
Policy. Okay. I think we met on January 18th, is that right?
It's a long time
It
ago.
was so long ago, I get fuzzy on these dates. Anyway, the policy committee met, reviewed, and clarified the new language regarding smoking and vapes within our district's policies and procedures on random student testing of alcohol or other drug abuse. After that, the committee had a lengthy discussion as to whether or not the public comments on any topic portion of the Board of Education meeting should be moved from the end of the meeting to the beginning of the meeting. So I'd like to just give us a little bit of review on the purpose of the board meeting. The Somerset Hill School Board of Education conducts a monthly meeting in public in order to conduct board business. This takes place after the executive session. I will use the January's Board of Education meeting as an example. At that meeting, items which needed to be discussed and voted upon were divided into 17 areas. Board business for that meeting consisted of the following items. Some of them are miscellaneous. Some of these items, we go into depth with the reports and so forth. But we start out with call to order, welcome, pledge of allegiance, roll call, and then we go into correspondence, superintendent's report, public questions and comments on agenda items, approval of minutes, committee reports with discussion and voting, public questions and comments on any topic, including further clarification on agenda items, supplementary matters, and adjournment. During our meeting, we had an exhaustive review of the areas of communication the Somerset Hill School District provides. Avenues and opportunities for communication and sharing of information and opinions along with discussions are as follows. All schools have monthly HSA meetings where information about our schools is disseminated through presentations and discussions. Built into these meetings is a time for Q&A. Further, questions or issues individuals may have can be brought to our HSA representatives during or after meetings or at other times. In turn, this information will be reported to building principals for resolution. In addition, comments or issues can be brought to teachers, administrators, even the superintendent, by individual at any time, either by email, phone calls, or face-to-face meetings. There is a process and a chain of command. In addition, the Community Engagement Committee is in the process of devising a plan with the purpose of inviting community members to take part. Further information will be given as this committee evolves. After a long discussion, the Policy Committee concluded that there are many avenues of communication which community members can take advantage of. Therefore, the Policy Committee is recommending that no changes be made at this time. The Board of Education will continue to take comments on the agenda at the onset of the Board of Education meeting, and once again, take comments of any kind toward the latter part of the meeting. I would like to move item 1 on the agenda.
Second.
Discussion.
I continue to be amazed and confused. I've had a lot of experience through my life being that way, so it's not new to me, but why we are digging our heels in to make things more difficult. I'm glad you talked about the January meeting, because that is precisely the example I like to use when I made this suggestion. I made it so that we could make it easier for our community to come. If they have concerns, they can talk about them and not have to wait till 10:30, 11 o'clock to speak to something that's not on the agenda. We're a district, and I don't know, because I haven't done my homework on this to give an exact number, but most school districts meet twice a month. So if we met twice a month, this would be very conducive, this policy would be conducive to doing that. Because we don't meet twice a month, we meet once a month. I just don't understand why we wouldn't want to make it easier for our community to reach out and discuss. Now, if most people knew, they could figure out a way to get their comments into that first session. Somehow they could weave it into something that's on the agenda and figure out how to do it. Most people don't do that. They want to come and I just don't see it. It's just beyond me. And I would like to take, I don't know if I would make a motion here, but I would like a roll call vote from the board. And if it's in favor of that, it shouldn't be a committee vote. This should be a board vote if we extend that to public comments. And the board votes and it stays the way it is, that's fine. I'll live with that, but I just don't understand why. Yeah, I get the fact community engagement, I'm working hard, and we're all working hard on community engagement to open it up to the community, involve the community, but we're a board representing the community, and I think, for me, I'd like to hear, and I think everybody would like to hear as much from the community as possible, and that means coming and talking, and maybe not having them wait until 11 o'clock at night to speak. I think if we could do that for our people, our representatives, parents and community representatives, why wouldn't we do that? I just don't understand why we're digging our heels into this one.
Well, in terms of Rick's question, right now you're just on the discussion part of this action item, so you'd have to vote on that, and then if he was going to make a motion, it would be supplementary.
We're still discussing.
Yes, I think. Yeah.
Would this have to be voted down then?
No, this is the only, it was a committee report and then one action item.
Okay.
So that's what's
So
the
then
topic.
I could make a
now.
motion after this, which I will do.
At a different time.
we're still discussing that, right? We can still discuss.
You're discussing, yeah, you're really discussing the action item.
Oh, we can vote on the action item, you're saying.
Yeah,
Vote on
he
the
can make
action
a, he
item
can make a motion
and then
and discuss.
discuss, and then maybe.
Well, you kind of rolled the committee report discussion in with the same action item, so I guess you can continue with the discussion, but don't forget to vote on the action.
No, right, okay, got it. You know, we really talked about this a lot in the meeting, and I think one of the things, well, that came out of it was just that sometimes we have a lot of business to actually do, and things that we really need to discuss here in public, right? So sometimes, okay, not so far for 2018, but certainly last year, and with my experience up to that point, you know, we usually get out of here about 10:30, 11 sometimes. And if we have to have an important discussion and actually vote on things that we work on in committee and we're elected to actually make decisions about, I want everybody to be focused on the things that we actually have to vote on. And depending on how long these things could go on, we really could get off track.
Can I just add one, which is, I think I totally get what you're saying. And there's work that has to be accomplished, and so we do have to focus and get that done as quickly as we can in the public session. So I totally get that. What I'm struggling with is when I heard the list of communications channels, I didn't hear an opportunity for a member of the public to present to the board as a board in a public setting with media and others in attendance. So it seems that there's a lot of communications channels, but there's no equivalent communications channel. And I get what you're saying, and I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not suggesting.
And also, you know, in this new role that I'm in, honestly, I really can see how much time, more than I did in the past, because I was only on certain committees, but I've gained a tremendous appreciation for how much time we all give, and everybody, certainly this year, it's sort of through the roof with the superintendent search, and then we're going to go into negotiations, so that's going to be a lot more time, meetings and evenings, I just feel like I don't want everybody staying here past 11 o'clock at night if we don't need to do that. Like, I'm happy to listen to people, I think we all are, but we have to get this work done.
But maybe there's some work around there, because I don't think we as a board want to say that the only time you can ever speak to us is at the tail end when everything else is finished. I think we need to provide, an opportunity for people to speak. And I know that I think we can have discretion over flipping between the back end and the front end.
I think if we have like a big issue, maybe.
And I think it's appropriate to have that discretion. But I also think as a board, just as a matter of posture, if not policy, we should be open and welcome to bring people in and comment, because this is the only time that the public can speak to the board. It's the only time the public can speak to the board. And we're here to represent the public. So I mean, I'm with you.
We are here to represent the public, but we
and I'm
also
not saying
have
we
to
don't have to get the job done. I
We have to
totally
get the
get
job
that.
done.
I totally get that.
I was just going to say, Jamie, I think we all signed up to sit on this board and to attend these meetings to whatever time we need to go to, right? And by deferring the public portion to the end, I think we're actually, I'm sure we're not intentionally doing it, but it almost could give the appearance that we're trying to discourage it, and I don't think we want to do that, and I don't think that's anyone's intention. The majority of our stakeholders are parents. They have kids at home, they need to get home, and I think by asking them to stay till 9 and beyond really just is not accommodating our stakeholders.
These meetings used to be 8 o'clock. My first stint on the board was 2005, and I'll say, I use the word thought to get the meetings to be earlier, because I thought 8 o'clock, to start a public meeting at 8 o'clock was just way too late. We are discouraging people from coming to the meetings. The meetings then changed to 7:30. I prefer to see it at 7. I'm okay with 7:30, quite honestly, but I think all we're doing is either if the people are going to speak later in the meeting, then we're not shortening anything. The only way we're going to shorten it is if we discourage the people from saying, I'm not going to wait until 10 or 11 o'clock, I'm going to leave, that's when we shorten the meeting. If you look, and I'll ask Heather, well, I'm not going to ask her because I know what the answer is. All of these votes, very little discussion, 10-0, 10-0, 10-0, occasionally 9-1, but for the most part, there's not a lot of discussion. We give reports and then we vote, and it's not like we're discussing things. The fact that we don't have that second meeting a month leads me more to want to have this, just this accommodation for our community to do it. I thought we were going to try it and see if it worked, but we're not. The recommendation is not to try it. Hopefully, when I make this motion in a couple of minutes, it'll be a positive motion that we can try. We can always go back and do it, tie it in with the agenda. But
it wasn't my understanding that we were going to try it. We did raise
we
this.
talked about it, yeah,
But it wasn't my impression that that's what we were going to do. My impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the policy committee was going to get together and discuss the possibility of doing this. I just want to clarify one thing. Don't kill the messenger. I am on this committee with 4 other people, and I'm reporting what transpired at that meeting, okay? The other thing is, this is very important. The reason why I took time, when I wrote this up, I thought, I'm going on and on about all this, but I think we really need to think about the purpose of the board meeting. It's to conduct our business, and we are doing that in front of the public, okay? It is our board meeting. Now, that's not to say that we don't want comments from anybody. I'm not talking.
I'm not, didn't interrupt, I just wanted to make you
You
aware
were
of
just
that.
stretching, right? But, when we do discuss matters, like, look, sometimes we get more people at meetings than at other times. Like when we were talking about the drug policy and the incident that occurred. People come, they attend. Of course, they want to air their views and talk. And, it's still about conducting board business. And by the way, when we do discuss these items, it's really better to have comments at the end so the public can then discuss what we were talking about and discuss what happened during our business. That's really what this board meeting is about. And so that's why I went over about all the different things that we do as a board. It's just, and why we went over, and we discussed this at our meeting. All of us discussed about the different avenues that you can take to get your point across. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, if you have a comment, the door is always open. And get in touch with the teachers, get in touch with administrators, talk about it. Like, you don't want people to pen up everything and wait till the board meeting to come, although absolutely you're welcome at any time. And I'm not saying not to do that, but there are a lot of avenues of communication. And that's really what we talked about at the meeting on January 18th. So that's what my report was about. So that's what we recommended. Okay, I'm done now.
And I know that there's been a tremendous amount of thoughtful consideration. So, and I hope you didn't think I was trying to shoot a mess with it, because I'm not. Messenger is very sweet, always very sweet. But I do want to point out that this is a public meeting, and we have not 1 but 2 public comment periods, which are designed to induce the public to comment about not 1 but 2 types of issues, one on the agenda and any other open issue. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear. This is about community engagement. This is doing the business of the board in the presence of the community with their contributions. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page on that
And the
one.
Community Engagement Committee was, and Greg, you were the one that was a very strong proponent of it, and the committee is formed, and this is a great opportunity for parents to come, community members. It's going to be the entire community, not just parents, anybody that lives in the community. We are setting it up, and it is evolving, and it's going to take place, it's going to happen with people actually coming. And then as a committee then, Kathy, Greg, people that run it, then, you can report people's concerns or ideas and so forth, and they can also attend here. But that's another avenue. That's like, and I know you've been talking about it for a long time, and it's happening now.
Very excited about it, and you're absolutely right. I just one very quick comment. The uniqueness about this is that people can speak to an entire board. When they go to a committee, obviously by law we cannot be more than 5 on any one committee. So here they can speak to an entire board. Very, very different. And again, I go back to, and I'm going to beat it, my wife yells at me all the time about this, but we only have 1 meeting a month, not 2. I'm sorry, Gail, but she's looking at this YouTube video, she's going to get mad at me about it.
Can I jump in? Because I
Lou, don't tell her.
I'm
sorry.
I have just 2 quick comments on, one is that the 2 meetings, I thought that usually happens if the board functions as a committee as a whole, where they don't have, that's why I thought you'd have 2. I didn't think it in this situation because you have separate meetings. So that's one. Second one is that, I'm on 2 boards, and I've been on boards for years now. So, you know what I have discovered? One of the things is that the board members, you kind of know, it just depends on the board, I guess. You kind of get the pulse of what's going on in the community, and some of these things are discussed in committees. And so what happens is that when you have your committee discussion, some of the questions that they may have asked is actually in that committee report. And when you give it, they know that now, okay, yeah, they've been thinking about it. Yes, they have a decision. Yes, they have some resolution. And they before they even ask it, they know that you're thinking about it. And another avenue is always great is that correspondence, when you can send that letter to the board can read it, and you can actually read it out loud too, I believe. So that is always an avenue too, and that's a good one too, and we've had used it. So that's just my points, that's it.
And I just want to comment because I am on policy, and I went into it feeling that we should probably flip the comment section. However, after the discussions that we had and the various experience that people have had with having changed those comments, I think that, let me step back here and say, I think that by no means leaving it the way it is not encouraging people to come into our meetings and voice their opinions. Because I think we're all in a position where we feel like that is very important and a huge piece of why we're all here. So I do just want to make that very clear. I do think that the perspective of people that have gone through that before, where it has been flipped, is very important. And the fact, to follow up on what Jamie said, that can potentially distract from getting done what we need to get done. I also think sitting in those chairs, typically where Lou would be sitting right next to my dear friend, I would say when I had something that was important to me, I wanted to come to the meeting and hear the entire meeting. And it did not bother me, and I did not feel that because the comment section was, the open comment section was at the end of the meeting, that you didn't want to hear from me and that I wasn't important. And in fact, I would say that, I really did. I wanted to come, and that's what got me coming to issues. I think it was probably back in the park days, or coming to meetings. And I wanted to hear everything then. And it's a great opportunity to not only come for the topic that you're here for, but to begin to understand other things that are going on in our school community. So I don't see it as discouraging necessarily. It is a late time. Personally, for me, with 3 kids, an earlier time is even worse. Not 7:30, 8 o'clock is fine. But I'm saying if you were to move meetings up to an earlier time, that's a little bit, that's an aside. But and it's just so at any rate, I can see the value of keeping it as it is, based on the experience, based on the work that we need to get done, and based on sitting in those chairs and never feeling discouraged or You know, if it's important, you put the time aside and you come and it's okay. You hear everything that's going on and you feel like you're heard. And if it's an agenda item, then you can speak and leave. So that's just my 2 cents and how I kind of went into policy thinking one thing, but definitely can understand the other perspective.
I definitely don't have any experience with having it the other way. Does anybody have?
I have.
Monica, right? Am I right?
Oh, I've seen it both. I've been to so many borough council meetings, planning board meetings, board of adjustment meetings, and most of them have it just like we have it. And I'll say, Heather, I agree with you. If I'm there for something important, I stay the whole meeting. And so I think the way we have it is fine.
I have been on one where we opened it up, and then, then what happens is that it gets really long and with the discussion, and then you have to rush through what's on the agenda, and sometimes people miss things. So, I guess I feel like the policy committee feels. I think you need to get your business done, and then we have additional things, you can discuss it, because then you can take that, if there's something important, you can put it on the next agenda, and you can discuss it. But you can't add it to the agenda now. But so if somebody brings something up that you think is important at the end, you say, okay, let's put it back take it to committee. Committee can now talk about it, and they can bring it to the next, the next agenda. They can put it on the agenda. So that's the
Can I just say
agenda.
one more thing, though? I think I proposed this a few meetings ago about we pilot it, right? So if we were to actually pilot it, and people's concerns about us getting too off track and not being able to stay focused, if that takes place, we have the option of going back. We don't seem to have, our chairs aren't filled at this point, and I think it would be interesting to see if we moved it, if we actually had greater community engagement. Again, if we don't see it, we could always move it back, but I think it would be interesting to pilot it.
Well, I will say that I've lived through it with both ways, and it can get a little tricky, let's put it that way, because if there is a burning issue and people do come in, and there are a lot of people, and we talk about, we have all the comments at the outset, I mean, we could be there pretty much all night before we even get to our board business. So, I mean, we changed it. It used to be like that. We used to have public comments in the beginning, and it was changed for that reason.
Can I just point out one thing? Can I just point out one thing? Regardless of what you do, because obviously I'm a short timer now, so I don't have a vested interest, but the one thing you do have to be careful is that you shouldn't circumvent your administration. So a lot of times, unfortunately, it's much easier to call a board member when you want a quick resolution, or speak to the entire board, as opposed to going through the appropriate channels. And I'm just saying, I know you want to hear people, I know you want to fix all their problems, I get that, but that's not your role. And it's certainly your role to hear things, but not to hear everything, because that's why we do have a chain of command that begins with the teachers and that works through the administrators. And I'm not saying that that's what you would get all the time, but you would certainly get it. And so I'm just cautioning you to, whichever way you go, you just have to be careful of that. Because some things don't need to come in front of the full board. They can be resolved and worked through at the building levels. And that is one of the things that gets a little tricky. Because we had the same thing when I was in Highland Park. We had it reversed, so that was my history, was that we would start with the public comment. And, it did encourage people to come and resolve things in front of the board, as opposed to going to oftentimes through the buildings. But when there was a hot issue and people, felt passionate, they came and they spoke, which is certainly their right. However, one of the issues was that the board was here, was there late at night, and one of the problems that we had was board members wouldn't want to go home, and I would say, no, you can't. You have to stay and vote. So that's the only thing, is that, you will get more people because they can just run in and run out, as opposed to sitting through a meeting. So whether that's just like I said, I'm going to be gone, so it's not me, but I do feel very strongly that the board's role is as an overseer and to provide oversight, not to micromanage administrators and run the district. And I think that you have to be very careful of that because that's not your role.
Thank you, Fran. Jamie, we can,
I would like to make a motion.
Wait, no, please.
you gotta move.
Let's vote on the other thing that's on the table.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DeGiacchino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
To be honest, I'm so lost, I don't know what we're voting on.
We're voting on
The policy second
policy
reading.
number 1, the second reading.
With the
Yeah.
change of the.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Okay. Can I make a motion?
Are we there yet? Are we, yes?
Well, yeah, you could wait till supplementary matters, but it seems appropriate to do it now.
All right, I would like to make a motion. I'm going to amend my original thoughts. I tell my kids in phys ed when I have them try some different things, I'll always tell them experiment with whatever, not drugs. I'm going to use that here. Let's experiment with public comments and questions, not drugs. Well, this is not like having root canal. I don't think it's going to make the meetings longer, so I would like to make a motion that we pilot this open public session format for the March, April, May, and June meetings through the end of the school year. At that point, we can revisit it, and if it's worked out, we can consider staying with it if it doesn't work out. So for the next 4 meetings, I would like to do this.
Second. Okay, before you have any other discussion, can I just clarify what
Yeah, we
your
have-
motion is?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're making a motion that just opens up the first public comment period to
Well,
other
both.
items besides agenda? So it's just
So
a
that they're
general?
both items on the agenda and items not on the agenda, for both public sessions.
I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
what you were moving.
And only for the next 4 meetings.
Can I just ask one point of clarification? There's a temporal scoping of the initial questions to 30 minutes. Is there any reason why you wouldn't do the same for this? Just keep the same?
It would stay the same unless you move to change that.
Right, so I'm just saying, if we were to, this motion could be under the same constraint as exists today.
Yeah,
So
but the 30
therefore, it
minutes.
wouldn't- And just ask for clarification. So in that instance, it would not add any time.
Correct.
However,
It just opens up what can be spoken about.
Right, but exactly, so let me just, is that okay with you?
That's fine, yes.
Okay.
But I think we discussed this in the last meeting, and to me, I find that to be a little bit more discouraging, if that's the right word, because if you have a topic that's really important to people, and there are 100 people that come out, and everybody wants to speak, are we really going to say, sorry, 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's
we're
both
not?
ends. No, it's both ends. We
could
got
extend
30
it,
at the
though.
front, and then if we have to time it out.
It
doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you
The
just.
motion could always be extended. 30 minutes can always be.
Yeah, 30 minutes could be extended, or you could.
Bob
flip it
Bates
to
and
the
I,
back.
Bob, we were at the
Okay.
meeting,
I don't
Can
think-
we vote?
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think.
I have one
planning board
other thing.
meeting, how they extended it at the end.
I would like to comment, when there is a hot issue, and I have lived through them for many years, it goes beyond 30 minutes,
It does.
trust me.
It does.
And you're not
Right,
going to
that's-
say, that's
and
it,
you're not
folks,
gonna-
go.
You're not going to stop
It-
somebody.
And no, but it's
Technically, you should
then
move to extend the time.
could extend the
If you want to
time,
have
yeah,
the
that's-
policy in place.
You can actually extend the
For
time
those
at that
few
point in
and
time.
far
Right,
between
at that
circumstances.
And you do it, people do that. They take that 30 minutes, they extend it.
Discussion.
So we have discussion, or we said you got a second?
Well, do you want me to vote?
Yes, we will.
Call for vote.
Yeah.
Can we just confirm what it is that we're voting?
Can I say what I?
I would like to see public comments on what we're voting on.
Okay, she's gonna summarize.
This is now on the agenda.
She's going to summarize what we're voting on, so we all know what we're voting.
What I understand is that from the next meeting through June, you're recommending that the public comment period that's set in the beginning of the meeting that has been, the 30-minute public comment period that has been limited to agenda items be open to include any item that, to be discussed.
Is
that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're going to vote on this.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DiGiacchino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
No.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
No.
Ms. Birch?
No.
Mrs. Lees?
No.
5 noes, 4 yeses.
You move on to the public comment.
Okay. Yeah, community engagement. You can go now.
We already did personnel, yeah.
Right, so
Yeah,
community
we
engagement's
should
not
be,
on
no,
there,
it
so-
should
Should go,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very quickly with community engagement, we did meet on February the 8th. We continued with our discussion as to how we're going to move forward. We continued to refine the PowerPoint presentation that Kathy Tober provided for us, so we've been working through that. We discussed, we actually started discussing a rollout, so the main thing that I can see, and I'm going to defer to Kathy after I speak to this, is that we're going to continue to try to lay out everything that we want to do and open it up in September with what it is that we want to, how we're going to open it up and how we're going to reach out to the community and things we want to do, reaching out to the chamber, to the borough councils, town councils, etc. So rather than try to do something, the point is rather than try to do something this year, we're going to continue to gather information. We're reaching out to the 2 school systems who gave presentations at New Jersey School Boards Convention in the fall. I've not done that. We're going to be doing that between this week and next week, and hopefully we'll have some exciting stuff to roll out and to communicate to the public. We are meeting again. Our next meeting is March 7th. That will be hopefully on the day that was 75 degrees. Hopefully, cross our fingers, no snow, because that affects my schedule, but we'll be meeting at 11 o'clock on March 7th. So, Lou, that's your verbal email. We are also going to be meeting with Burnsville Borough. We met in the fall, an ad hoc committee. At that point in time, it was decided, not necessarily through me, but that this should be through community engagement, so we're going to reach back out. We wanted to touch base with Burnsville and talk about all the issues that are ongoing on a daily basis. From facilities to whatever. So we're going to try to meet somewhere during that week of March 21st, March 22nd kind of thing, but that's going to be again with community relations. Maybe Jamie, if you want to sit in on that. We are going to ask Franny or Heather to sit in on that, and then
I
it would
already
be...
let Gretchen know.
Okay, and Gretchen, yeah.
I already told her.
Right, so Gretchen as the incoming superintendent, and then the recreation department, some members of the borough council, Ralph Maresca, the town business administrator. Again, so we can keep that line of communication open. The idea was to meet, it was never really decided, but ideally once every couple of months to meet so that we continue to touch base and stay connected. So that's the report. No items to act on.
Thank you.
Any questions on anything? Kathy, anything?
No, summarize it over. Thanks.
Okay, now we would invite the public for questions and comments on any non-agenda items. Yes.
Lou, is this how it's going to be?
Yeah.
Keeping Lou out there.
There's going to be a gadfly.
No, just a real quick question on the calendar that you approved.
All right.
The half days that you have, I know that's always been an issue for PPAC Gladstone with the train schedule. So and Far Hills also. So has any consideration been, I know we talked about it last year, about having, if we know scheduled delayed openings, that we have some kind of transportation down at the train stations to get them here, or if the schedule's going to change to, all right.
I have an answer for you.
All right.
We are piloting this at the next professional development day that's in April 9th. April 9th. We are going to see how that goes. We are going to have a bus available for that day, and we're going to see how that goes, and then if it goes well, then we will have that same service next year.
Because that's the second thing that's a big issue on the neighborhood.
Yeah, and we definitely reduce the delays.
I read them all day long now, so I see what's going on in PPACs.
I'm going to make you a
Maybe you should volunteer.
Drive the bus? Yeah, I'm running for council.
Yeah, mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone
I just was
else?
saying that we reduced the delayed openings just to 2 out of the 6. So that was also to take into consideration this, and also Bedminster's schedule too.
Will pilot programs work?
I didn't pilot it yet.
Okay. So do we want to talk, do you have anything for strategic planning?
Yep, so the update, I think, is that finance, Bob, I think mentioned this, that finance is looking at the priorities and, looking at the funds. We're hopeful for some grant support from Chef.
Right.
I think the large money is in the facilities, so some of the curriculum instruction strategic plan items can be funded with smaller amounts or with grants.
Right. But I think for the people, just to understand, to remember sort of the big points of strategic planning were, yes, STEM, but also mindfulness.
There were 4 main goals, there's 4 main goals. There's teaching and learning, health and wellness, 21st century learning, and then facilities. And under health and wellness, we were looking at issues like the drug and alcohol policy. That was a big activity for us. Also doing some more professional development for teachers in terms of suicide prevention training, anti-harassment, anti-bullying training, and third one's not coming to my mind. But and then teaching and learning was focused on innovative teaching projects like maker spaces, and the 21st century learning was focused on doing some more technology like Project Lead the Way, and then also the facilities has a lot of items such as parking, school security, which I think is already being moved on.
Right. Okay, we're just
We're just looking
reiterating,
at the top one for
because it seems like a
wellness.
long time ago, but
Yep.
it wasn't that long ago. Right, health and wellness. So under the health and wellness is obviously that I know people have concerns about student stress and things like that, and we are looking at addressing those things, and that all fits in the strategic plan for those who have those concerns. So all that stuff is sort of in that category.
So maybe after the budget is struck, and because we have the itemizations and finance is going to be talking about them, then maybe that would be the appropriate time, once the budget passes and all that kind of stuff, that we can talk about the specifics of what we'll be doing in each of those areas at each of the schools,
Right.
year 1.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah. That would be helpful.
Yep, of course. Do we have supplementary matters?
No.
Of any other sort? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn.
A second.
And a second.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody.